Hey everybody, Trent and Jim here once again, MidwestHockey.info. We're going through our team by team sort of season reviews. We've done a couple already. Now we're going to move on to the Chicago Blackhawks. You know, we did the Blues first because they had the best season. Normally, we'd be doing the Hawks first. They're always the team to beat out of the Midwest, it seems. So I'm sure a disappointing finish for them, but maybe in a way just what the doctor ordered. I mean, they haven't had a long summer for quite a while, and you know, with the World Cup coming up, it's going to be a short summer already. So this could be something. Just give them a chance to recharge, and they're going to come back angry and ready to go.
Yeah, they will, and I think it was definitely a disappointing way to go out, but you know, Game 7 against a good rivalry, so it's about as exciting a way as you can go out. But definitely that team wants more, that city expected more, and everyone was expecting, you know, another cup there in Chicago. So
they almost spoiled it for the Blues. If I'm not mistaken, they were down 3-1 in that series. They won Game 6. One game 5, one game 6, and took it to Game 7 back in St. Louis. And they always seem to find a way to win in those big playoff games. And this time, you know, St. Louis finally found a way to get by them. But this is a team that's going to bring most of its top players back. I think there's some things that are going to change, but they had a great year. They will be visible on awards night, as Patrick Kane, I think, is probably. I can't imagine anybody else getting the MVP this year. He's probably going to win it, I think. Artemi Panarin has a really good shot at getting the Calder. Individually, they had a great season, and they'll be back again.
yeah, I think I just can't help but think it's a little unfair that Panarin is up for the Calder. 26 years old, played in the K for how many years? You know.
I thought Panarin was.
But he played good, and you know he is technically still a rookie. But
I thought Panarin is being 24 years old.
I'm sorry, yeah. But when you start to compare him to McDavid, Gostisbehere, Larkin, guys that are 19 years old,
yeah,
you know.
So he's a rookie with some pro experience, which, you know, that might be a trend now. Austin Matthews spent a year over in Europe, in Switzerland, before coming over. So maybe that's something that some of the younger guys will look at doing now. Although he is a bit more of a veteran.
Yeah, more of a veteran, 24. There's a big difference between the Swiss Elite League and the KHL.
Yeah, good point.
So, I mean, you basically had all that experience at the NHL caliber. So, it's a little unfair in my opinion, but,
yeah,
you know, technically he's an NHL rookie and he performed excellently.
Recent news out of Chicago, a couple things actually. First thing, a trade. We actually have Teravainen listed on our list here. We're going through by position. We have Teravainen on our list. Tuivo Teravainen. I never remember how to pronounce his first name. Maybe it's a good thing he's going to be gone. Him and Brian Bickle, a player that was a part of the team's first Stanley Cup, now probably 5 or 6 years ago, but was more of a regular with the Rockford IceHogs this past year. They both got traded to Carolina for 50th overall draft pick. So a second-round pick, which helps the team a little bit. It frees up a little bit of cap space, I think, and also moves them up a little bit in the draft. They had traded away their first 2 rounds of draft picks. They weren't going to be selecting until late in the 3rd round. This way, they get a second-round pick. It's not like they're going to get a guy who's going to start for them in the fall, but it does move them up a little bit. And I don't think it's a big surprise. It might be a big surprise if they found a buyer, but I think Bickle was destined to be bought out if that didn't happen. It cost him Teravainen, one of the 4 centers I have listed here, Trent, but they are pretty deep at that position.
Yeah, I think it was an expensive price to pay. Teravainen's a good young prospect and 21 years old, and 35 points this year as a rookie. So, I don't think he was a rookie, but a young guy, 21 years old. So, playing on that third line, and as we saw into the playoffs and into the Stanley Cup Finals, that third line is just so important these days in the NHL.
Yeah.
So, to trade away a valuable piece that could be possibly a future piece, but that third line's going to suffer because of it, and what you're actually saving, I think it was an expensive price to pay.
Well, let's go position by position a little bit with the team now. The sort of the format that we're using here, we go by position. I listed the players here by the position they have on the team's website. As we've said before, that doesn't necessarily mean that player played at that position this past season. For example, I think some of these wingers have flip-flopped back and forth and stuff like that. So, but we're going to start with center. The team is pretty solid at center, at least in the top 2 spots now. Jonathan Toews, one of the best centers and leaders in the game. He's still young at 28. He played 80 games this year, got 58 points. He's not a guy that his presence, he definitely can put the points up. That's not exactly how his success is measured, but he's a very valuable player. 28 goals, so very solid season for him. And then for me, the player that really kind of benefited from playing between, I believe, playing between Panarin and Kane. Artem Anisimov came over from Columbus in the Brandon Saad deal, and he's always been a decent center, but boy, did he ever take off in Chicago. 77 games, 20 goals, 22 assists, 42 points, and really was a real presence on the ice. He got power play time and really benefited there. So those 2, I think, are going to be 1-2 going into next season too.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think when you look at the last guy on that list, Marcus Kruger, good young player, still has plenty of years ahead of him. Maybe you try him as your third line center, maybe
Sure.
not. Maybe you keep him there on your 4th, and look to get someone else to move into that position. But I mean, Jonathan Toews, in my opinion, one of just the most reliable guys you can ever count on. 28 goals, just scores big goals for his team, plays every situation, isn't afraid of the physical stuff, smart player. When I think of most valuable players, I think he's the most valuable player for the Hawks, even though he has 58 points versus Patrick Kane's 106. I will still stand by that statement till my last breath.
No, I think a lot of people agree with you there. He's definitely makes his presence felt. He's great on face-offs, heart and soul guy. And I think what you said about he plays in every situation. You think about a guy like, say, Ovechkin. He's a very valuable player. He plays 2 minutes in the power play. He's on for the whole thing. But if that team's on PK, he's not touching the ice.
No.
Toews is going to be out there no matter what. And that's very true what you said.
Yeah, you want a guy that you can count on day in, day out, on the ice, off the ice, at practice. Jonathan Toews is your guy.
Yeah.
And, man, he is just something special.
Yeah, we could go on and talk about him forever. Of course, everybody wants him on their team. So let's move on to the right side. Patrick Kane, as I said, I don't even know. I don't remember. It was so long ago now that the nominations were out. But for me, Patrick Kane is a slam dunk as the MVP this year. So I'm assuming that he got nominated, and I'm assuming he's going to win this week. 106 points in the modern era of the NHL is a huge point total. Breaking triple digits is almost unheard of.
Yeah, he's definitely a special goal scorer, point producer. And, that line with him on it, it freed up so much room for Anisimov and Panarin. So that was just a great combination of speed and finesse and high skill. So
Yeah.
that was a very good line for the Hawks this year.
I often thought, like sometimes when you watch the Hawks, if say you're cheering for the opposing team. A couple of times I watched it with our friend Brady, who's a big Dallas fan, and you have to go up against the Chicago power play, and they put out Kane and Anisimov and Panarin. Say, I don't know, I'm not even sure, and you get through that first minute and they go off the ice, and you're like, oh, okay, we got through it, and then who comes back on the ice? Marian Hossa comes on. That guy could bury it. It's almost as good as Kane. He only actually had 33 points this year, but he's a power play specialist, I think.
Yeah.
And he is another valuable player on that right side.
Yeah, he's 37 now, slowing down a little bit, but man, that guy can shoot the puck. Oh man, he can shoot the puck.
Andrew Shaw, then you go, he's totally the opposite. He's what they call a shift disturber. He's definitely an energy guy, gets under the skin of the opposition. I look down here and see he's only 24 years old. That's kind of shocking. He played 78 games, 34 points. Again, he's another great PK guy, and just so valuable.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, Shaw. I looked him up this morning and was doing a little research on him, and I was shocked when I saw that he was 24 years old.
Yeah.
And he's only 5'11", 179 pounds. And he definitely does not play that small.
No. Plays like a UFC fighter on the ice.
Yeah.
And just a great addition. You have to really give Bowman credit with what he's done here in Chicago. He's found the perfect player, it seems, for every job.
Mm-hmm.
And Shaw is just another one there. Dale Weiss, he's a person I think that's going to get more and more ice time as we go along as well. He did play 71 games this season, too.
Yeah, and I think his contract is up. He's going to be a free agent, I believe.
Oh.
Came in on that trade from Montreal. So, are they going to keep him around? He's definitely a good role player. A guy that's going to bring depth to your team. So that'll be something we'll have to watch going forward.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that in a minute. Trent's going to go through all the contract situations and salary cap type stuff once we get through these position things. Let's look at the left side. Starting with Panarin, we've already talked about him quite a bit. He's 24 years old. Great rookie season. Sometimes a player after a big rookie season will have a bit of a dip after that, but based on the players that he has around him, I don't see any reason for things to go bad. And he's a veteran player. Andrew Ladd, they came over at the deadline, I believe, from Winnipeg, a former Hawk, who had played a part in their first Stanley Cup. He came back, and from what I understand, he was the epitome of a rental player. I kind of got the feeling from what I've heard that they are not going to try to bring him back, but he definitely played a big part in their stretch drive.
Yeah, I just don't think that the money's going to be there.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tight off season for them. They're going to have to basically move players out to bring players in, so it'll be a tight one for them.
Yeah, they've always had, that's part of having a really good team. You got to pay these guys, and it's always hard for them to get to the cap. They had to say goodbye to some guys last year strictly because of money, and it's an ongoing problem for them. We have 4 more guys listed here. The one I want to mention for sure is Richard Panik, who had a great playoff and a great, I think, finish to the season. This is a guy that had a hard time getting on the ice in Tampa Bay, got traded to Toronto, and was happy that he got out of Tampa Bay because he thought he was going to get a chance to play. It didn't happen in Toronto. He did get some ice time, but spent a lot of time with the farm team there, and then went to Chicago, one of the top teams in the league, and becomes a regular.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe he just signed a 1-year deal with the Hawks. I believe it was a 1-year deal, and that would have been today. And I didn't see the details on it, but so it looks like he's a guy that they do want to keep around. So that's pretty nice for him.
Yeah, he really found a home there, and that's it's good to see. Like I say, he struggled to hit the ice, and it looked like he had something to prove after. He felt like he didn't get a fair look in Toronto or Tampa Bay, and he might have been right, Jim, based on what he's done here in Chicago. We have Andrew Desjardins, who was a contributor on the left side. Well, Tomas Fleischman and Brandon Mashinter, a couple of them. Mashinter, in particular, I think, had spent some time in the minors, but they do have some depth on the left side. So let's move on to the blue line, where this team is really blessed.
Yeah, this team, they have a good defensive core.
Yeah. Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook, I mentioned them together because they really are, the two of them are elite NHL goaltenders. They would be in the first pair on any team in the league. I think they're both probably going to be playing in the World Cup. They both played in the Olympics, so that means that they're among the best defensemen in the league, and that's all you can say about that. They're in their early 30s, still young by defense standards, though.
Yeah, I think they definitely got, for sure a good 5 years.
Yeah.
You would have to assume. And, Keith struggled with some injuries this year a little bit. At the end of the season, got in a little bit of legal trouble with the league. But, two great defensemen, and then you're like, wow, that's two great defensemen. And then they bring in their third guy, Nicholas Chalmerson, who just he's definitely a good player himself. He's now 29.
Yeah.
All three of those guys, they can help produce points, and they can produce on the power play, and at the same time, all of them are responsible defensively. So what more can you ask for?
Yeah, that's a great core right there. Chalmerson with Seabrook and Keith. Trevor Van Riemsdyk had a bit of I think he had a breakout the season before when they had the Stanley Cup run. He made his presence felt after playing, I think most of that season with Rockford. Made his presence felt, and he played the full season in Chicago this year, and he's going to be there for a while. And then they have a little bit more of a veteran presence down the run. This is where they do seem to add players. They traded away a good defenseman this past season. Again, it was because of money. They lost a good one. The Swedish Oduya, yeah, sorry. And I thought he was going to be hard to replace, but they had tons of talent. They brought in Ehrhoff, and I guess when you got the minute munchers ahead of them, you don't really need too much after that.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think it doesn't. When you look at who's playing on your third line, you can pick a guy up in free agency, no problem, to play on your third line D. So, with the core they got, you can almost have anyone else behind them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, unfortunately with the Oduya thing, I think Daly was the one guy that came back, and he didn't make it to the end of the season. But they're gonna fix things up this summer. They always make big moves in the summer. I always wonder how they can afford it, but they'll find a way. And that's when you got those three guys at the front. Like we said, you don't need a lot.
Yeah.
Trent, let's take a quick look at goal. There's really not much to say there. There's one guy that, if he's healthy, he's going to carry the load, and he's earned it. For some reason, Hawks fans have been hard on him in previous years. They seem to be hot and cold in the way they feel about him. But Corey Crawford has 2 Stanley Cups, and with that, you should garner some respect. He's a legit top NHL goaltender, and as long as he's healthy, they know they got a good goaltender.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's a guy you can rely on. And, I mean, I think every once in a while he goes through a little bit of a cold spell, but good, reliable guy that is winning you Stanley Cup, so you got to appreciate a guy like that.
Yeah. As of right now, Crawford is 31, which is still very young for goaltending.
Mm-hmm.
It's not uncommon for a goaltender to play into their late 30s. Scott Darling has been the backup. He's a capable backup. He actually had a shutout this season and some pretty good numbers in the games he played. I don't think anything's going to change. He will be the backup, but he's he gives you he's there for them back-to-back games. He can spell Crawford, and they have confidence in him, so they have a perfect setup there. And I really don't see anything changing there in the goaltending situation.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's take a look at who we could be saying goodbye to contract-wise.
So for the Hawks, they have Andrew Ladd, who's an unrestricted free agent. Made 2.8 last year. He's definitely in for a hefty raise. Andrew Shaw is a restricted free agent. He was a $2 million guy last year. And it's funny, looking at this this cap sheet that I got here, it seems like either everyone is signed to a max length deal or they're a free agent. There's not many in between.
Summers, yeah.
So after that, Panich, who just signed a contract. And then you have Thomas Fleischman, Dale Weiss, Dennis Rasmussen.
Rasmussen, yeah.
Yep. And Fleischman and Weiss are both unrestricted. Rasmussen is a restricted free agent. So who are you going to sign there? Then you got Christian Nierhoff on defense, along with Roosevelt, who are both unrestricted free agents, both older guys. I'm guessing Chicago will probably let them walk. They have depth down in the AHL that I think some younger guys step up and play, get some experience before you really need to rely on them in years to come. So I think you, at that stage, especially at the beginning of the year, maybe you trade for someone at the deadline going into the playoffs that has some more experience. But I think to start off the year, you want to get your younger guys some experience. So, and then nothing's going to change next year in the goalie category.
So the one name that jumps out, obviously, I think that they need to bring Shaw back. I don't think there's any doubt that Bowman's going to do whatever it takes to bring Shaw back. He's a valuable player.
Yeah.
Of them defensemen, Ehrhoff has had a great NHL career. He is 37 years old. The only thing that I think might bring a guy like him back is I think he might actually lower his price. I mean, I think he's probably happy to be a part of that team, and they might be able to get him for a good price, which I'm sure that they probably got a good deal with Panic too, because he was so happy to find a place that actually wanted him in the organization. So I think Ehrhoff, he could be back. If it's up to him, I suppose. If he wants to maybe come in on a PTO or sign a 1-year deal for a pretty relatively small amount, that'd be good. I think that the primary efforts are going to be in bringing Shaw back, and don't put it past Bowman to do something else this summer. He has been known to make some big deals in the off season. I don't know if saying goodbye to Teravainen might have freed up a little bit of money, maybe gives him a little bit of leverage. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, stuff is still going to be very tight there in Chicago. So
yeah, another announcement out of Chicago. They've been very busy, and this just happened this afternoon. I don't think it's earth-shattering or surprising or anything like that, but the team The Rockford Ice Hawks just announced this afternoon that their affiliation with the Hawks has been renewed for another 5 seasons, which is that's actually pretty long in the AHL. They don't usually go by that amount, but that's a perfect setup. The team is right down the road from the Hawks. The organizations work well together, and I don't think that's ever going to change. I think Rockford will be the affiliate for the Hawks as long as they're around. And they made it official today for another 5 years. So congratulations on that. And that's all I can think of.
That's all I got. Stay classy, Midwest.